Hey everyone, and welcome to a very long awaited Magna madness. It has been a long time since we've done a video. I think it's probably almost been a year, thereabouts, if not maybe even a little bit longer. Long story short, we've been busy. So today I'm going to show you how to change your fuel pump. Now the reason that I am changing my fuel pump, I'm going a higher capacity fuel pump, a higher flow fuel pump, whatever you want to call it. I'm supercharging my Magna. I bought a supercharger about a month ago. It actually was 3 years ago today that we put the 3.8 in, and a supercharger came up, a Sprintex that I was really happy with. So we purchased that for a reasonable price. So we've got to work out, now that we've got a bit more air going into it, we've got to work out to get a little bit more fuel going into it. So we're going to start with the basics. We're going to start with a fuel pump. We're going to, in the future, buy some Subaru pink injectors. As a lot of Magna people know, they fit straight in, which makes it really easy. So when we get to that, we'll do a video as well. But for today, we'll be showing you how to change your fuel pump. Alright, so first thing you want to do is pop your fuel cap. So what that does is just relieves pressure from the fuel system, so you don't have any, for lack of a better term. There is a couple of ways you can relieve the pressure from the system, but that's just the way I'm doing it. One thing I also would recommend doing when replacing a fuel pump is change the fuel filter. There is actually a video on my channel, I think, already on how to do it, if I remember correctly, because I can't remember what I have and haven't made. But definitely replace your fuel filter when you're replacing your fuel pump. If you don't, it actually can void the warranty of the pump as well. So definitely go onto the other video, which I'll link below if I remember, and do that while you're at it. Alright, so first thing we're going to do is take out the bottom half of the back seat. There's a tab under here, and you just pull it, and likewise for the other side. I am going to do that off camera because it's a little bit awkward to try and film doing it, so I'm going to take it out, but it's really simple. You just pull those two tabs and it comes straight out. So what we're going to do is we're gonna go in here. So this is where your fuel pump module is. It's pretty obvious, there's 4 screws there, so we'll just undo those. Alright, so your cover's off. Now this bit can be a little bit tricky, so there's the loom here we need to unplug and this clip here. This clip can be a bit of a pain in the ass, so you do those, and then there's a couple of 8mm just around here. So once we've undone these, we'll do those 8mm. Alright, so when you're undoing the fuel line here, there is a couple of ways you can do it. So there's 2 tabs on the side here, but they're a real prick to try and get undone. So what I would do, get a flat blade and sort of just shove it in there without breaking it and take it off. Alrighty, and you will get fuel on yourself, as you probably just saw. As far as the loom, pretty easy. Now it won't be because I've jinxed myself. And just wrap it up out of the way. And now we'll undo those little 8mm. Relatively easy because we did it not that long ago. We just put a standard fuel pump in instead of a high flow. So now we'll pull the module out of the tank. Now the hard part about this is the fuel plug or clip or whatever you want to call it gets in the way, and there's only so far you can move it, so it just takes a little bit of patience and maneuvering to get it out. Alright, now we've got the bits out of the way, we have to get the seal out. You can leave it in or you can take it out, whatever you prefer or whatever you find easier, but they're not the kind of thing that you change regularly, so they tend to get a little bit like aged in there, so to speak. There we go. And that is our fuel pump module. Alright, let's take it outside so we don't get fuel everywhere. What we're going to take the fuel pump out of the module assembly. So this top hose clamp here, we'll just move it up so we can remove the hose clamp from, remove the fuel pump from the bit of hose there. And then we'll be able to access the plug in the back there and be able to undo that with a lot more ease as well. One thing genuine I don't like is fucking shitty hose clamps. Sorry, Gat. Now I might be able to actually get it. There we go. Now that we've moved the hose clamp up, we are going to remove the pump from the bottom half. So you want to get a screwdriver, just a flat blade, and put it between the metal and the seal there and just sort of pry it away without breaking anything. Alrighty, now we can undo the plug here, maybe. For someone who changed an entire wiring loom in their car, I'm really not good at plugs at all. There we go. Beautiful. So that's the old fuel pump out, and we'll put the new fuel pump in. Alright, so we're going to put the little filter bag on the fuel pump. So on the bottom of the pump, just undo the little brown there. Slip her over. And then with our little, what I will call a flower washer, for lack of a better word, pop him on there. Okie dokie. So we'll undo the connector. Maybe. And we'll pop our little module assembly in. What we do need to do, because as you'll see, this fuel pump is a little bit longer than the old one. What we're going to do is get out our side cutters, which I'll find in a second, and just cut down this hose here. That way we've modified it really easily and made it fit. We'll cut it roughly where we think is good. Probably easier to do with a bigger set of side cutters, but that's okay. Just remember, it's going to be easier to cut it down shorter and with sharp side cutters. It's going to be easier to cut it a little bit longer rather, because that way if you need to take off more you can, which is a little bit easier than taking off too much, especially if you don't have any just spare laying around. I'll make sure it all fits. Oh, definition of plug and play. Okay, so off camera, when we were trying to put it in, we noticed that this fuel line where it connects into the fuel pump is too long for each other, so to speak. We tried cutting down the little retainer, little rubber that sits in the bottom of the pump to stop it vibrating in the tank, but we couldn't get it cut down enough to make it sit in there properly. So what we're going to do instead, use the sleeve that comes with the fuel pump, pop it around, and that should hopefully stop some of those vibrations that we now might get. Being that the car's on super lows with all poly bushes in it and whatnot now, a little bit more vibration is something I don't particularly care about. But if that is something you care about, if you've just got something that's stock, or you want something that's a bit quieter, then this is probably the way to go. So we'll just push the sleeve on. Another thing that I forgot to mention that we did off camera, because we got a little bit distracted trying to make it fit, the little flower clip here, we did that off camera. I was just bending and breaking nails trying to get on. It ended up being a real pain to get on, so, but we did get there eventually. So now we can plug her in. Try to. Usually helps if you go the right way. Set our line up in there. Beautiful. Make sure these two lines here are pushed up nice and tight into each other, and we'll just move this lower hose clamp down back onto the fuel pump side and clamp her in. One thing we will do, just to stop a little bit of this happening, is just pop a cable tie around the bottom of the fuel pump just to hold it into the module a little bit better. What I should have done was done it more over this way. There we go. Whoops. Beautiful. And now that will just secure that in place a little bit more. And now it's ready to go back into the car. Put the module back in. Try to do it without breaking the sender, because that's the last thing we want to do. So we've got the module back in the tank. So now we can start doing up our little 8mm and plugging everything back in. Plug him in. And then dig out our fuel connector. And we'll plug him in. And this is not much funner than taking it off, which is a little bit tedious to try and get on there. Make sure it's on there properly. Beautiful. Okay, so we've popped the fuel cap back on the tank. So we'll crank it a couple of times so that way it's got pressure at the pump, and we'll just make sure it doesn't spew fuel everywhere. And it won't start first go, so don't freak out. Yes, it will. Sounds like a whine, bro. No leaks. So now we can turn it back off and reassemble the little cover and the back seat. As I'm sure you can probably imagine, it's pretty straightforward from here. It's just a matter of putting this plate back on with the 4 screws we took out earlier, and then putting the back seat back in. Beautiful. Now we'll go and pop the back seat in. I'm gonna have my hoodie on because it's raining. I don't want to get wet. So to put your back seat in, don't forget the simple things like take your seatbelt buckles out. So if you have friends in the back, unlike me, they can buckle in when they're with you. And it's really easy, just a matter of lining it up on both sides, and then basically just jump on it until it goes in.
Giggity.
So that one's done. And this one I should do from the other side because it would make it easier. And done! That, my friends, is how you change a fuel pump. Thanks for watching today's episode, for lack of a better word. Hopefully, once the weather gets a little bit better, we'll be able to make some more videos. We're hopeful to make a video on when we do actually supercharge it. We've only just got to get the throttle body modified, and then it'll be right to bolt in. And hopefully we can do an update video on Floyd's car as well, now that that has progressed quite a lot since the last video. Thanks again for watching, guys, and we'll see you next time.